prayers or praises from the group. How's the baby, Carson?
Baby's good. I'm getting pictures all the time. She's smiling. She went to a restaurant for the first time, so
Heck yeah.
she's
Awesome.
she's doing good, man. So only good things coming from reports. There's like still some leak or something, but they all still say that it's getting better and then it's part of the process. So I think her next thing is she's gonna go to some other doctor and start some other form of therapy or whatever, but that's all
What
I think planned on that road. So
kind of
she's
therapy
good
does
to
a
go.
baby go to?
That's what I mean, man. Like, let her just be a baby, bro. But
Like what? I don't.
whatever.
She can't talk to a shrink as long as she can do physical therapy. Like
Yeah, like she's not even like maybe 8 months old now,
she
9 months
can
old now.
she
So
can
like,
barely go to the bathroom on her own.
yeah,
That's
poor
crazy.
girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't need to be doing all that. She needs to be
Yeah.
playing with her toys.
Yeah,
So,
for real.
but she is doing like really good for all things considered. So definitely prayers answered there.
Trace, how's the heart?
I got the monitor off. It seems to be doing about the same, but nothing too scary or anything. So,
They didn't like give you any notes or anything. They just
well, I think it takes them about 3 weeks to get time to
goodness.
look at it and to call me in or whatever. So, I guess if anything was too terribly wrong, they probably would have contacted me by now. But
Yeah. I would guess they do kind of a brief overlook, make sure there's nothing like seriously wrong, and if they see nothing, then
right.
they go back through later and like do a deeper analysis on it.
Yeah. Yeah, so I feel pretty good about it. So guess we'll find out whenever they contact me.
Sounds good. Let us know.
Will do.
Also, pray for deer season.
Yeah.
Maybe the
Pray for
Lord send
luck.
me a deer, and then I've been trying, and then just hopefully I don't get shot. Just the normal safety stuff. So
Just continued prayers for my new position at work. Kind of shifted into that this week, so it's been good so far. But
Did we know that you got it? Did I know that? I forgot.
I can remember, I know I talked about it, maybe
I feel like last I
like,
heard someone was flying in to interview you because you're like big baller stuff or whatever.
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Because that was 2 weeks ago. We didn't do it last week.
Think you're
Yeah,
right.
so yeah, they offered me the position
Heck
and
yeah.
I accepted. So,
So what are you?
oh,
You're the office manager now?
I'm just back office manager, but so I won't have to do like, I don't think it's really anything as crazy as like if I was a whole office manager. Just kind of like making sure the floor is being ran, doing timesheets, making sure stuff's been ordered, um, stuff like that. So yeah,
So what? You're
that's
in charge of inventory and what was? I assume front office would be in charge of like appointments and contacting customers and insurance companies, and you'd be in charge of
yeah.
ordering and
Which I still have
hygienists
to
and stuff like
schedule a
that.
little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, scheduling and all that sort of stuff.
Heck yeah.
Got a little bit of a pay raise, which is also a praise.
Let's
Yep.
go.
And I got a lot of overtime last week, and they applied it to the whole check, and they just announced it this week. So like this next check I'm getting is from the last 2 weeks, and I wasn't even doing anything, and they're putting the pay on there. Like,
Heck yeah.
heck yeah.
It was for free, so I said sure.
yeah.
Yeah, Ellie's still trying to figure out where her future is going, so just praying for guidance, and that's my prayer request. Guidance.
She's still working at the same restaurant.
Yep, still working on First Watch.
Is that the one off Battlefield and
National.
no?
Yup. Sure is.
My grandpa seems to be doing pretty good, so praises for that. We went down there not last weekend, but the weekend before, and kind of hung out with him and a little bit of the family, and it was a pretty big blessing. But like, it's he's like just at true peace with everything. So
That's good.
like, it's probably the most peace I've ever seen him at, which is pretty cool. But as far as health wise and everything, he's doing about as good as he's been. So praise and continued prayers.
Hard not to be peaceful whenever you know where you're going.
Yeah. I think that's, yeah, start to make connect the dots between both my grandpas on that situation. Like,
Yep.
gets to a point where this life is nothing compared to the next one. So
um, praise. I don't know if you got a number. This was several months ago, and I honestly totally forgot about it. But my brother-in-law's wife's cousin is 31, was diagnosed with brain cancer, and was given like a couple weeks to live. And he was supposed to die in July. He's still kicking. Like, he's doing really well. He goes for runs, exercise, like does all that. Just lives life, and I guess does treatments. I don't really know. Um, Lucas, my brother-in-law, was telling me like it's the most aggressive form, and there's like really no treatments that work for it, and he's just chugging along. So praises for that, because 31 is not a lot of life. So anytime you can get is a blessing.
yeah, that's awesome.
Love it when doctors are wrong on that. Yeah, that's good
I
stuff.
know, right?
You idiot.
Defying the odds.
Alrighty, well, I'll pray for us and we can start our study. It's not a very long one tonight, so
Yeah,
welcome to
that'd be good.
Dear Lord, please be with us tonight as we've gathered here to study your word, Lord. Please be with us as we go throughout the Bible study, Lord. Please keep speaking to us, Lord. Help us get everything we need from your message, Lord, and help it make us the best disciples we can possibly be for you, Lord. Be with all the prayer requests that we just mentioned, Lord, the spoken ones, unspoken ones. Answer those in the way that you see fit, Lord. Place your hand on those and lift those up, Lord. Be with us as we go throughout the rest of our weeks, Lord. Keep us all safe, healthy, and in Christ Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Alrighty. So I was kind of like looking through what other like kind of Eastern religions or Western religions that we haven't touched on. And I'm kind of down to what we're gonna do tonight, which isn't necessarily a religion, and then like the Amish and the Mennonites. And I'm only doing that because I'm kind of just curious. Because I think they're Protestant, but they're obviously different from like how we view the Bible because some of them aren't even using electricity, and that's interesting to me. And me and my grandpa ran into a few of them this weekend, so just sparked an interest. But tonight we're going to be talking about atheism and agnosticism. Does anybody know what those two things are? Because they're not necessarily a religion.
I know what atheism is. Like that one guy that we did that study, that Trace led that study on. The guy was an atheist. Basically, you don't think anything. It's planets. That's all that's out there, and obviously we know that's not the case. And that one guy was gonna prove his wife wrong and prove himself wrong, and then found God, which is just a whole cool story in itself. But yeah, atheism.
So
Yeah.
agnostic is it you don't truly believe anything, but you're not you you don't believe that, like, you're not completely opposed to other
Yeah, you're just in the middle. You're just like, I don't know. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't.
words are hard. That's exactly
Yeah,
what I was.
pretty much. Words are hard. That's like from my research, the best description and like a very blanket way to describe that because people are like, well, there could be a God, but there also couldn't be a God. And that's kind of just where they leave it.
It's
But
honestly
these are,
probably where a majority of the world is at, from my
yeah,
opinion.
so I was looking into it. It says like if you like break it down, I don't know where these studies come from. It's probably just from like a select group of people, but it's like 30% of people just like aren't affiliated with religion. And then of that like other 70% that's left, like 5% are atheists, 5% are agnostic. And that's like just like I think it was USA is what I looked up. I don't know where from. But so like a majority of the population is kind of just in that like gray fuzzy zone where it's like, I don't know, maybe, maybe not. Agnostic though, essentially. But atheism, like we talked about, pretty much just the lack of belief in God. So like there's so many different forms of atheism because you can be atheist because like maybe you're just inherently arrogant and you're like, I am God, like I'm controlling my own destiny. And then some people are atheists based on science, kind of like what we talked about with like Big Bang and like what started what. And if we're really talking about science, like we talked about, how does nothing start nothing? Well, that's a different study, but
That was a good study.
yeah, so that's where we're at with atheism. Like, there's like a scale, like from what you. It's not like Mormonism. Like, if you're Mormon, you believe this way. Like, this is how to be Mormon. Like, you have your set guidelines. And atheist, it's just kind of like a conglomerate, and lots of different people are atheists. Like, an athlete can be an atheist, a scientist can be an atheist, a plumber can be an atheist. There's no like, I don't know. It's a belief system, but it's not like a
It's like an unbelief system.
yeah, religion. It's just like what you think. So it makes it kind of hard to break down. But like I said, it's honestly like atheist slash agnostic. That's like the majority of the population on Earth because most people aren't really into religion enough to like actually take a stance on it. Atheism, it kind of started in India, it started in Greece, it started like kind of everywhere where like those major gods and stuff were forming, and the people that kind of oppose that. So a theist would be like us, we have belief in God. An atheist would be the opposite of that. The A just, I'm not even sure that's a language thing, but it means no. So no God, none of that. Modern atheists, that's like I said, it kind of grew with science and philosophy. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with David Hume, Baron D. Hobleck, Richard Dawkins. The only guy I was familiar with was Richard Dawkins. He's from the UK. He does a lot of science stuff. He's a smart guy. Don't agree with him on his beliefs on religion, but he is a very intelligent person. And like I said, he's to me not super arrogant either, like some atheists are. So it's interesting to me just like how atheism takes shape across America and then other countries because you can be a genuinely nice human and be atheist, I think, and then you can be just not and be atheist. And whenever you're like a Christian, if you're genuinely bad Christian, you're not a Christian. You have to be kind of good to be a Christian. So that's interesting. A few Bible verses that kind of highlight atheism in the Bible, and atheism that kind of emerged after the Bible was created, or like the term atheism. But Psalm 14:1 also echoed in Psalm 53:1. The fools say in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt, their deeds are vile. There is no one who does good. So that's like the closest thing to the Bible actually saying something directly about people who don't believe in God. Psalms 10:4, in his pride, the wicked man does not seek him. In all his thoughts, there is no room for God. So we're pretty much saying if you are removing God from the picture, if you're putting the man before God, it's never going to end well. In the New Testament, Romans, Paul's going to argue God's existence is evident through creation. So those who suppress this truth are without excuse. So if you're implying the willful rejection of God, that's kind of akin to the modern day atheist. So if you don't believe that there is a God or that God was to come save you, then you would be an atheist. But that's an atheist. Agnostic, like we said, is essentially the same thing, but adding in maybe there is a God. So the atheist is like hard stop, no God. And agnostic, I think that's really like where most of our focus as Christians should probably be, because those are the people that aren't like currently turned off of God, and those are the people that are likely more intent on listening, or at least giving you a shot, because some people right now just aren't ready to listen, and that's okay. You should still talk to them, plant the seed. But I think the agnostic part is where people actually have that open ear. I tried to find a Bible verse about agnostic people in the Bible, and this is Judges 21:25. In those days, Israel had no king. Everyone did as they saw fit. So that's kind of like Israel was trying to listen to God at that point, but there was really no God there. They were kind of just using God as like an image, and they weren't actually like following God's commands. That's where like, well, there is a God, but I want to do these worldly things, and these make me feel okay right now. And I feel like that's where most of people in America are, because I feel like if you live in this world, the way things happen, the way things are put in place, there's obviously a clear plan for all this, or at least some form of design. Even your own body, like everybody's body is doing a million tasks while we're just sitting here having a Zoom and not even thinking about it. Like there's got to be some sort of design. So I think that's pretty important to focus on. But like I said, from the Bible, there's not really too much on atheist or agnostic people. There's those few verses that remind us not put man before God, and I think that's where atheists kind of fall out of line. But to be honest, it's pretty hard to stop with atheists and agnostic people. They just say there is a God or there isn't a God, and they just leave it there. The science kind of gets wrapped up in that, like evolution, stuff like that. But we always still waiting for the nothing out of nothing to be answered. They just believe in that and refuse to answer that question. They just back that nothing created nothing, which I don't think that's a good 50-50 to take compared to the adverse. But main takeaways for me after studying atheism and agnosticism, discipleship. I feel like that's what my main takeaway is for all of my studies that I'll do, just because it's viewing the other religions or I guess stuff that just competes with Christianity. But discipleship is so important. And I feel like with atheists, it's going to be hard because most atheists are intellectual people, or at least considering themselves as intellectual people. You get the science community, very like hard stop, needs to see like tangible evidence, stuff like that. And while I would argue that the Bible has plenty of tangible evidence, there's human beings that lay that out a lot better than I do that have spent multiple years studying that. So I'd recommend go watch one of them explain how the history in the Bible is perfect and there's no contradictions anywhere in it, but that's irrelevant. But I feel like the agnostic people is kind of where we start, and that could kind of maybe trickle into the atheists because they're kind of all together. Like the people who are atheist and agnostic are like halfway in the same boat, and then the agnostic and Christian are kind of halfway in the same boat. So they're kind of the bridge. So I think if we get to the bridge, we can kind of make the connection. But the kind and compassionate approach is what I kind of want to focus on for the focus today because I say discipleship every time, but like the world's pulling people in so many different directions. So like if you're a non-believer, you got the Christians wanting you, now you got like the Muslims, and then you got Mormons, and you got all these different things. But if you're just sitting there in the middle, not knowing anything, and like if you didn't grow up a Christian, I feel like it'd be really hard to get away from that. But and like kind of put your faith into one God. But the just like the steady trickle away, like we talk about, just being a good person, holding the door, being somebody's friend when no one else will be. I think that's very important. And then, yeah, anybody else have anything they'd like to add about being a disciple?
Well, I had one thing to add about atheism, and what's crazy to me is we were creating God's image, right? Um, and God, I imagine, created a need for something more beyond this world, which for us is following Jesus and being a Christian. And with that need, how do people just ignore that? Like, I understand being confused and not really understanding it, but how do you just have this hole in your soul, in your heart, and just roll with life? That to me just sounds absolutely miserable. That's what I don't understand. That God created this need in us to seek Him. And I can understand getting confused by a different religion. I can't understand just blatantly ignoring that feeling. Because there's been times in my life where I was not close with God, and I didn't know. I guess I didn't necessarily know it then. I didn't know what was wrong, but I knew something was wrong. And once I found my way back to Christ, I was like, oh, suddenly everything in my life is. I mean, my life isn't necessarily. I'm not like I'm not like I gotta get a raise at work or anything because I'm a Christian now. That's not how it works. But everything in me was just better. I feel like my just mind was just clearer, cleaner, happier, more at peace, less anxiety, I was never really depressed, but less sadness, all of those things started clicking into place when I'm closer with Jesus. So I don't understand how people have all these issues and are just like, God does not exist, God is not real, or even if say you're you're in Utah at is that it might be in Utah, Brigham Young, BYU, you're surrounded by 1,000 Mormons, and you have this hole in your heart. How do you just ignore that? I don't know. That's the part that always gets me. That's always the part I think about atheism, and I think that's why in that article we read about that uh, professor, I don't remember what he was, whoever that guy was an atheist. Like, no, God is not real, and then he started studying it, and they found God because he realized what he was missing in his soul, and it was Jesus's presence. That's
Yeah, I
what.
think to add on to that, I think a word you're kind of flirting around with was like finding a purpose in life. I feel like a lot of people, they might think they have a purpose for like they might find a purpose in other things, but like in our lives, our the whole purpose of our life is to bring others to Jesus and to eventually make it to heaven, right? And that's like for me, I have a purpose at work and I have a purpose like to friends and all that sort of stuff, but like this overarching purpose in my life is to strive to do better and get closer to God to do those things. And I think once you find that purpose, then like exactly what you said, like you're not sad anymore. You're a lot more happy. The hole in the void is that you don't know what it is filled. So
And I saw this thing. It said this guy was like, "My favorite thing to do is play the and then what game." Oh, so you're talking to a 10-year-old. What are you gonna do when you graduate high school? I want to do this. Okay, and then what? Oh, well, then I'd probably do this. Okay, and then what? And you just keep asking him at the end. You're like, where? So if you're trying to say you have a kid and they're whatever, and you're trying to help them understand what their purpose in life is, you lead them all the way to the end of their life, saying with this and then what game. You're like, okay, so now you're on your deathbed. You've done all these wonderful things in your life. To what end? What was the purpose?
right,
And
yeah.
then you kind of scale it back and you say you serve God here and you serve God here and you save this soul and you save this soul and you save all these lives and whatever. At the end of life, you get to walk up to Jesus at judgment and hear him say, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." And then every single thing you ever did, which obviously a 10-year old's probably not gonna understand that, but maybe like high school or they're graduating. What are you gonna do? And then what? And then what? And you lay that whole all that out for them. You're like, wow, that sounds like pretty cool life. So you're so okay. So then you die. What was the
Yeah.
purpose of all that? You did all these things for yourself. Why not do them for God? And then you get to go spend eternity in heaven with him.
Yeah, that's when you really step back and look at it, yeah. Especially an hour on Earth is like infinity after Earth. So like our our life might seem really long, but it's not even this big compared to this big.
I mean, I would guess in heaven there's no perception of time
Yeah.
if I had to guess, but
Yeah, one thing came to my mind. My dad always says, which kind of ties into that a little bit, but he's always like just kind of bought whatever he wanted or like just kind of, you know, I mean, he's obviously served and done stuff for the church and all that stuff too, but he always says a dollar I die with is a dollar that I wasted. And it kind of gets back to that point of like, we're not taking anything with us. Like,
yeah,
That's funny.
so
My grandpa.
when you really take a step back and think about it, like, I mean, we do have purpose in life and everything, but like a lot of it's just surviving to get to eternity. So,
yeah. So yeah, essentially, life realistically has no purpose unless you are serving God. Because at the end, when everything's all said and done, if you weren't serving God, everything you did was pointless.
Yep.
All the
Respectfully.
money in the world can't save you.
Nope.
Yeah.
Easier for
Another
a camel to go through the eye of the needle than for a rich man to enter into heaven.
another thing that came to my mind when you were going through this, Carson, was me and my dad were going down to the farm hunting a couple weekends ago. And as I've matured, we've kind of had these conversations, which is a blessing for sure. But we were talking about like just kind of this stuff and everything, and I think I actually brought up the the atheist story that you mentioned as well. But my dad he's like, to like all these people like that just don't believe or don't want to put in the time or whatever. He's like, when you step back and look at it, like what is there to lose to like just explore and try and follow God? Like obviously you can like just kind of look around our world and everything. Like Christians are normally better people than non-Christians. Like they practice and do more for other people and stuff.
Which obviously there's bad apples, but
Yeah, for sure. But
I
it's like,
feel like in my experience, all the Christians I have met were generally good people.
yeah, they
Some are better than others, but overall they were generally good people.
right. So like that's obviously I've been surrounded by it my whole life, and I'm not sure how I would think about it if I was never introduced to it. But like one thing that yeah just sticks with me is like, man, what is there to lose? Like just give it a shot.
I think I've talked about it before. I don't remember whose philosophy it was, but it was like, worship God. Because if you're wrong, you don't lose anything except a little bit of time. If you're right, oh my
You
gosh,
can be turning- Yeah.
you hit the biggest lottery you could ever hit, ever, like beyond anything of you could ever imagine. Um,
It's my
and
exact
I was thinking, you know how recently I was thinking about this. This is a little bit off topic, but I was thinking recently. You know how we were talking about how easy it is to be a Christian, like nowadays, because Jesus died on the cross, so basically for our sins, but also and to change the laws and make things easier. Um, and it is easy to be a Christian. Yeah, I was talking to Ellie about this, and I was really thinking about it. It's easy to be a Christian, but living a Christian life is hard.
Yep.
Because being a Christian's easy. I could be talking to you right now and also praying in my head. We don't have to go out in our front yard and split a lamb in half and sacrifice. Jesus already did that for us. We just say, "Dang God, I'm sorry. I did these. This is what I did wrong. Please forgive me." And all of a sudden, he just like erases it from his mind, which is just crazy to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the thing about that because we were having a really good conversation about it, and um, we're just like, dang, like life is hard. Life is hard sometimes, and it is really frustrating to, as a Christian, to look around and see other people achieving things we're trying to achieve, and we're not achieving them. And yes, being Christian's easy, but life as a Christian is hard because we have a much bigger adversary than these people who are not Christian, trying to hinder our every way. And you'd think, from an outside perspective, you would think being the life of a Christian be easy because we have this all powerful God on our side. That's not how He operates. Because He gave us free will. He loves us so much, He gave us free will to make our own mistakes, our own issues, and um, what comes with that is God has an enemy. And what do enemies? What do enemies do? They make it harder. And yeah. Anyways, that's what I was thinking about. Kind of a little bit off topic, I suppose, but
Yeah, I think like temptations and like to us as Christians often aren't temptations to non-Christians because it's just their kind of everyday life,
Mhm.
right? But yeah, I don't. Maybe that's kind of adds to what you were saying of it is harder because we have to fight those temptations when other people choose to fall into them. But obviously the reward in the end is like we can't even comprehend what the reward is going to be. So why not?
Yeah, I definitely like. For example, drinking. Some people love to go get hammered. Go for it. I can't do that. God does not want us to drink to get drunk. I don't remember where it says it in the Bible. I could probably find it, but from what I understand, Bible says don't drink to get drunk. So I don't. I have before. I used to, and then I get closer to God. I push that away, and not that I'm tempted to do that because alcohol is absolutely disgusting. But there are other things like that in life that would be most people just go for. Like, especially like in our culture nowadays, hookup culture is crazy. People in college, dude, dorm rooms are like orgies sometimes, and um, that to me that's crazy. I could not imagine. I'm never tempted to do that. But if I got far away from God, maybe I would be because I don't have that protection of God. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other examples of things that we're tempted to do, like lying. Sometimes it is easy to get tempted to lie to either protect someone's feelings or protect yourself. And some people will just lie freely because they don't have that relationship with God to understand that lying is a sin. God does not want us to lie. He wants us to be 100% honest. And there are times where you are tempted to lie. And sometimes it is hard to tell the truth because sometimes the truth hurts. That was the example. That was the example I was looking for. That made sense to me, anyways. Or like you're at the store and you run into somebody that you really don't want to talk to somebody or talk to them. You're like, I really got to get going. I got this going on. You have nothing going on,
Yeah.
right? That is a very tempting because sometimes you're tired, you had a rough day, whatever. You don't want to talk to people, but as Christians, we shouldn't lie like that. Better to say, hey, respectfully, I do not want to talk to you right now. I'm tired. I'm going to go. But that might be hurtful.
Yeah, the older I get and the closer I get to God, it's funny how those little things like that like start bothering you and you're like, man, I just like they're thinking that I'm doing something that I'm not. And it's like, man, I need to work on that.
Road rage. Bro, I'm tempted to get so mad at people when they drive slow. Oh my gosh. You know how hard it is to be like, I'm fine. I love going 15 below the speed limit. It's my favorite. Oh my gosh, dude. Holy.
Yeah. They're just put your headlights right on their bumper.
Mhm. Smelling what
Yeah.
they ate for breakfast, bro. Man. Anyways. And then I get like down the road, I like pass them on a double yellow or something. And I get down the road and I'm like, all right, God, that was a bit ridiculous. I'm sorry.
You pass them and they see your Jesus bumper sticker. You're like, speed up.
Yeah.
Man.
You're giving them thumbs down as you drive by.
Yeah.
There was one guy, and we were going to Walmart or something, and it was like a two-way stop, yeah, and they were stopped before me, and so I was waiting for them to go because we were across each other, and they weren't going, so I continued to wait, and finally he goes, and then I go straight because we both went straight, and he just like flips me off. I was like, what?
I was in the car. It was just like the most like you can't even be mad because it was so stupid. Like they were the one that was completely at fault. But yeah.
I
It's
bet
like
if
I don't know why people just find enjoyment in that. Like, man, I hate you because I think you did something wrong. Like it's
there's been I bet 3 or 4 occasions maybe that I'm driving with Ellie and someone just flips me off. I'm like, did I cut them off or something? Like, why are they mad at me? She's like, I
right.
don't know. I'm really good at that apparently, just making people mad on the road. I don't really understand, but it happens all the time, like 3 or 4 times, but still. Anyways, we're way off topic. Atheism.
Yeah, not much to it. It's kind of like the hardened version of agnostic people. You kind of eliminate God from the equation. So that's atheists are a hard cookie to crack. It's kind of like what we mentioned. You got to crack yourself at that point. Kind of remove the arrogance and the ignorance. And I say that it sounds terrible because most people's connotation of that, but that's like what it is. Just you being the man in charge. And we've been doing Bible studies a long time. One thing I'll say is there's a God, but it's not me. So I'll keep believing that. So
The idea of
but yeah,
living
that's all.
the idea of living without God in my life sounds absolutely terrifying. The idea of just thinking there is just a black void, like there's just nothing after you die, that is terrifying. That sounds terrible. I don't know how you could live like that. Like, what would be the point? I would be just so miserable. I'd be like, bro, like, why? Why? What is this? What are we doing here?
Yeah.
Just, I'm just on this earth for a little while, and then I'm just gone forever. That sounds terrible.
Yep, I think it's kind of scary, but our world is kind of going to that direction of like encouraging people to have their own voice and like make their own decisions and stuff. And that produces more people being closed-minded, which is what atheists are, right? Like they're just this is what they believe and don't care what other people think, but I think, it's I don't think we should ever really give up on those kinds of people or anything.
Yeah, we know no one is too far for the glory of God to save them.
Yep, there's plenty of stories and biblical examples and all that sort of stuff. So,
Dude, Saul of Paul, King Nebuchadnezzar, bro,
yeah, Paul is
legendary.
probably worse than an atheist because he killed people of his own kind.
Yeah.
So, you're
At
never,
least atheists don't hunt us
never,
down. Like that's crazy.
yeah, you're genuinely never too far.
Yeah.
I don't think you could get that far in nowadays world because you would get caught and go to prison. So,
Oh yeah.
yep, my big takeaway, I already said it, but is why not? And there's always a bigger purpose in life than what you
Yourself.
currently find a purpose in. So,
It's all gonna fade. So focus on the stuff that won't.
Good study. You said what's next? You said this.
I'm gonna talk about the Amish and
That's
Mennonites for
right.
a little bit. I'm
That's
not
right.
sure what type of study that'll be. That could be like nothing because it could just be like Christians that don't use electricity. Like I really just don't know much about them,
It'll be an
but I'm pretty about
interesting
stuff.
exploration.
yeah, I think it'll be super interesting.
It's at least
All of it
something that
will
like we're all around though. Like at least
be,
maybe
yeah,
not as much like if you're just in like Springfield and stuff, but like there's definitely like Amish people that'll pull up to like JC Penney's or something and go shop or something. So
yeah.
I was driving back from Nashville, past a horse and buggy. Like, yeah, man, get it. Mine's
if you
good.
go like east or north of Rogersville at all,
Oh yeah,
I mean you're in Amish Mennonite country, so
we were
The
going to
Seymour McDonald still has like those tie-ups for the horses.
really.
that's awesome.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
We were going to have to do a detail in what's that place called? It was the middle of nowhere. It was north of Rogersville. I'd never even heard of it. But we passed like a commune or whatever they're called. It was just a cinder block houses. That's wild.
Yeah, it's all different. There's like subsets of Amish people. Like you'll go from even just like me and my grandpa, we went to one Amish dude named Eli, got his horses shoed, and then we went up to the road. Uh, Eli had like some electrical stuff on his horse and buggy. So like reflective lights, so like people could see him at night, like just like safety hazard stuff. The other dude, it's just a horse and a buggy. There's nothing at all. Like it's just a seat and a buggy. Eli had like I think maybe like a speaker or something. I don't know what all he had, but there's definitely like layers to it. And then Mennonites, they're like Amish but not Amish. I don't know. So
I think
lots
you'll
of
find some interesting stuff, like because Amish, I'm pretty sure like they have to marry within their community, but I don't know if the parents like choose or whatever. So I think there's some marriage stuff that you could relate and find interesting. Not saying that
I think they
same.
struggle with
no, I'll figure it out. We'll get to the bottom of it.
I think they struggle with genetic diversity
Yeah,
because there's not a lot of options.
there's incest pretty much happening.
And I
No, yeah, like you can tell. You just go talk to
Mhm.
enough people. I mean, yeah, it's not a secret
It'll be interesting.
for sure, for sure.
All right, well, good study
Well,
tonight.
good, Logan. Get that good rest, man.
I will be getting to sleep and immediately after this. It's see, it's 2 a.m. for me right now. I'm pretty sure. No, 1 a.m. I'm good at math. It's 1 a.m. for me right now.
Yep, I think you're due for some sleep.
Due for some sleep.
Is it me running next week?
That sounds good. Next Wednesday, 7.
Yeah, 7 works for me.
Excellent. Well, I'm gonna shut this down.